Welcome back, everybody. I hope everyone enjoyed that little 20-minute break on stream we had, but we are getting right back into the action with the XLNC Mid League. This time, Omega Gaming Unleashed versus Meme City Esports. I am once again Gordo, and I am joined once again by Rudude. And Rudude, we're getting right into these bands.
Yes, we are. We've already got a few off the rip right here. The jungle priority from Unleashed going to be the focus here toward Meme City Esports. And you can see that they're going to be the ones focusing back and they're going to be firing back at Princeton. So already these teams acknowledging where they want to focus down for Meme City Rush. They're trying to take down Fallen and that champion pool that we already highlighted being incredibly large. And then for, of course, Meme City. They're trying to take down. Oh, I've read that completely wrong, haven't I? There we go. But for Meme City, they're the ones trying to target Princeton in the mid lane, rather, and it's going to be on the other side, Omega Gaming Unleashed. They're targeting the champion pool of Acid in the jungle.
Yeah, gonna be both of the Y brothers there, Yasuo and Yone getting banned away, as well as the Akali, all targeted towards Princeton. But it is going to this time be a pickup of Talia for Fallen Artemis on the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed. They're gonna be first picking that again.
Yeah, and Graves still up and available. Expect that to be, I would say, picked up in response here to the Talia. Also, I know Lilia is still a champion that is around and probably in a little bit of a lower tier, I would say, than Graves. But if, of course, Acid feels comfortable on it, then who are we to disparage the picks that they go for? Able to pick up another AP jungler, so matching AP with AP in that jungle role. Can at least set them up in the early game for a little bit of a quieter phase.
Yeah, possible that Acid wants to prioritize these AP junglers so they can go for some heavy AD in the mid lane, but it is going to be the Renekton locked in for Meme City Rush.
Yeah, and they're going to be locking in that power pick on the top side very early on, establishing that they want the 2 versus 2 dynamic synergy really to push this top jungle duo out, regardless of what it is that the Omega Gaming Unleashed roster pick up. We'll have to see if they elect to fight fire with fire here, or if they're going to go toward something else and trying to pick up something that is maybe just a little bit more susceptible to death in the early game, but that will provide more overall. Ooh.
Yeah, and that is going to be the Gangplank lock-in for some Malcolm. Omega Gaming decided they did not like how that last game went once the Gangplank got banned away, so they're going to take it in round one this time and not even give the opposing team the opportunity to ban it away.
No, answering Renekton or with the Gangplank there. So a lot of confidence here from Sir Malcolm to pick this one up. Renekton typically going to be a bit more strong in that laning phase, but once again, the same sort of situation arises where Renekton has a similar sort of slash and dash mobility compared to the Shen, maybe a little bit more so with that, but the barrels and the stun going to be able to bide a little bit of time, bide a little bit of safety here, make sure that the GP can't get jumped on too easily as we get later into the game.
Yeah, and Meme City Rush going to be taking the Jin away here, and now they have a real opportunity to pinch the 80 carry pool. They have two bans available here, and they can use it to pinch away the Kaisa and potentially
Aphelios?
yeah, Aphelios to keep. Thank you. I was actually forgetting the name of Aphelios there, so that was more necessary than you know, Rudude. But they're not taking my suggestions. They're going to
Five
go for
ban.
some more mid lane bans. They're just Princeton. You don't get to play any of your champs today, dude.
And this is when Princeton flexes the Seraphine into the mid lane and they say, nice 5 ban, nerds. And then they have wasted 2 of them in the end. I mean, there's a chance that they go for that. I'll have to wait and see what the matchup looks like because, of course, likely to save their blind pick for, or likely to put their pick in the support. And maybe if they do flex this Seraphine around on the Unleashed side, it might lead Meme City Rush to think that it's going to be a support Seraphine where they can swap it back out and put in the sorry, that Lissandra one just made me laugh. If from the was it the I can't remember. It's a Veta tournament that was hosted, and and Princeton just had a nutty Lissandra play, and spin banned away from him there. So lovely stuff.
Yeah, gonna be keeping that one away from them there. I am trying to dip on over here into the match history, try to find out how Meme City did in their first series. It does look like they were able to take a 2-0 against the legendary Wolves just earlier tonight. So they're riding a hot streak coming into this matchup against Omega Gaming Unleashed.
Yeah, so we will see sort of how these teams start stacking up against one another here, and That Maokai pick most likely going to be down in that bot lane role, or not bot lane, in the support role with the Jin in the bot lane. And Maokai for me right now, one of the top tier of AD carries. AD carries, wow, that'd be a sad state of affairs, wouldn't it? One of the top tier of supports down there. Just being able to put out so much poke. Imperial Mandate is just so strong at the minute, particularly on the Maokai, enabling the Jin so that when you hit that W, not only do you get the movement speed from the Jin passive, but you also get it from the Imperial Mandate too.
Yeah, it was Sword Art in the LCS lock-in tournament last weekend who was able to deal the second most damage on his team on that Maokai support during one of those games. Just absolutely insane how much damage he's able to dish out with that Imperial Mandate. Is able to proc it with all of his abilities and just get so much increased damage from putting those saplings in bushes.
Senna Seraphine, the bot lane, getting locked in for Unleashed. Presuming this Victor gets locked, and it does. And that's a bot lane combo for the, or not for the ages here with Seraphine being so new, but it's going to be one that I feel like is going to scale and sort of age with time right now with a bit of a Soraka Yumi style bot lane, if you've ever heard or seen of one of those right here, where they just constantly heal one another and constantly provide each other with CC, with just enough mobility and just an outright sustain to annoy even the biggest of lane bullies, such as the Maokai. So let's see how that bot lane duo does patch up, and we'll have to see who's picking up which champion here. I know that I don't want to cast dispersions too early, but the adjustment has been putting time in on both of the champions, so it's going to be interesting to see which way around it works. And I would like to see a Seraphine carry come out today at some point, so let's see which way they end up locking in the champions and what sort of orientation we get that bot lane in.
Yeah, that is certainly a possibility that you bring up there, Rudu. The Senna support is something that we haven't seen too much of in recent metas, but the Seraphine AD carry, or Seraphine bot lane more accurately, is certainly one of those picks that is very powerful. She's able to get farming and is able to get that gold. She gets to her first item earlier, and then she can just wipe away those waves like nobody's business, keep you shoved up under your turret all the time, and enable roaming for herself and her support.
And then if we do see the Seraphine carry, obviously this is all hypotheticals at the minute, but I'd be interested to see what sort of mythic we end up seeing come out here for the Seraphine. Be it once again that Moonstone Renewer or an Imperial Mandate, something typically more supportive, or if we see that full aggressive Luden's Tempest rather style build coming through. We don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see what happens when the champions start getting locked on in.
Yeah, we are, and it looks like it's going to be just a couple of moments here as the players are getting on ready. But now we're going to be seeing this AP jungle matchup. No AD mid laners like we suspected it may be possible, but nonetheless, going to be some heavy carry picks coming out of the jungle here. We are going to be seeing Acid on this Lilia has fallen a little bit out of favor more recently, but Fallen Artemis making a reprisal on this Talia, which is just considered one of the tier 1 picks post buff.
Yeah, it's just been seen in pretty much every major region as well. Just so much priority on this pick that, honestly, not taking it first round when Olaf Kha'Zix had taken away, you're not trolling necessarily, but you're definitely putting yourself in a pretty rough position in terms of compositional strengths that you have gotten. I really like the Lilia as well. I mean, the champion never really received any direct nerfs, more so that just other things got buffed around it. And Lily is still incredibly strong, and with the items as well, definitely going to be able to put out some consistent DPS. I want to see if we get a Moonstone Renewer on the Lilia as well, because that's definitely something that has been tossed around a little bit in recent patches. Obviously, still that possibility for the Leandries and for the Demonic Embrace to come through more as that DPS style Lilia, but the possibility for sustain and helping out the squad also there as well.
Yeah, that's the thing a lot of people aren't realizing about the Moonstone Renewer is it is not your father's Athene's Unholy Grail. You don't need it to be using a heal or shielding ability in order to get that heal like you used to. It's just any damage and any combat, any abilities that you're using are going to be activating that Moonstone Renewer. It's specifically good on Lilia because the fact that all of her abilities trigger her passive and deal damage over time mean that she gets 2 Moonstone Renewer procs off of any ability hit.
Yeah, exactly. It is just beyond effective. Like it's kind of ridiculous the amount of efficiency that you do get from the item, and I once again would like to see the item come into play here as we do finally move on over into the in-client draft. We might finally get some answers about these champions and where they're going to be lining up for Omega Gaming Unleashed.
Yeah, hopefully here, and we are going to be revisiting just the crazy amount of jungle bans and the crazy amount of mid lane bans that we saw coming out of each side this game. It was going to be 5 bans on either side, directed towards specific players, directed towards Princeton on the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed, and directed towards Acid on the side of Meme City Rush. So, going to want to keep an eye on those players specifically as they were so heavily targeted, and we're going to be looking to see if they can perform despite all of the handicaps thrown their way.
Yeah, we've already obviously seen a little bit of Princeton here tonight. Had the one great Galio game to start off with, and then the Yone where I still think the Yone looked good and still looked fairly strong, but obviously wasn't quite able to thrive in the full situation of the team comp that Unleashed had drafted for themselves. And it looks like with this composition that they're defaulting back once again to maybe a composition that favors a little bit more scaling and a little bit of time on the back burner before they get to that position, which is truly, truly admirable and truly where they become a full composition that is online, so to speak, here, which is something that if game number 2 was anything to go off, is something that they need to work on and addressing it here early, definitely getting underway with that one.
Yeah, and we're gonna see, if Meme City Rush is able to keep their momentum going from the last series that they played. It seems like they had a pretty easy time of it against their first opponents, but now they are facing down the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed, a roster that has had at least 3 of the members be together for quite a while now. So going to be coming in with a little bit of that experience, even if they haven't had the perfect record thus far.
No, and I want to touch on then this Meme City Rush roster really because they've picked up, or not roster, more so the champions that they've picked here with the composition they've tried to draft for themselves. Looking across, Lilia, Zoe, and Jin are the makings of an incredible poke and siege composition, with a Maokai as well throwing saplings under turrets, making sure that it's pretty difficult to navigate your way around and can maybe zone into a Zoe bubble, into a deadly flourish, into even a swirl seed. The potential pick underneath the turret is definitely going to be there. And if Omega Gaming Unleashed fall behind in the early game, which is what I'm sort of expecting to see here with their composition, then we'll have to wait and see how it develops in terms of how they can answer the siege. But my answers do get, or questions do get answered here at Gordo. Adjustment locks in the Seraphine, and we'll have to wait and see if it remains that way or not.
Yeah, Renekton going to be the odd lizard out for this comp, at least a little bit, but that is likely going to be because it was picked specifically away from the side of Omega Gaming to
Mm.
deny that Talia Renekton combo that has really defined a lot of the 2021 meta thus far. Talia Renekton was not a combo 10 years ago. There was no Talia in the game and was no Renekton in the game, but this year it's looking a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the denial pick from Meme City. It just now depends whether or not they're able to fully pivot their composition or fully play to the Renekton, or whether they're just going to leave him out in a side lane to make it really difficult for Malcolm to get any farm going. You can see that it's going to be pretty difficult regardless, trying to set up against all of the poke and stuff. But Renekton into GP as we get later and later, I feel like Renekton is renowned for being that early game bully and then tending downwards in his power curve, whereas GP just follows the exact opposite trend.
Yeah, absolutely going to be the case, but it does look like it is going to be that Seraphine in the bot lane, like you brought up, Rudude, along with the Senna support. There's 10 seconds left to switch around those champions, but the fact that they've got them where they do right now
Hmm.
makes me think that it's going to be what they're going to stick with.
And I'm interested to see how many souls the Senna gets. This got buffed pretty recently as well, if I'm not mistaken. The support Senna style receiving more souls, so we'll have to wait and see how big the range can get for the sub. And I'm always interested to see Senna's in the support role because supports typically want to be supporting the team and aren't there to be the carries. But this time around here, for Unleashed, it really doesn't fit that brief because Smalcolm on the GP, we've seen him love that side lane really and try and emphasize the cannon barrage as much as possible. And Sub really going to have to be that leading attack damage force in the full on 4 versus 4 or 5 versus 4 that they might end up fighting themselves in.
And Senna support is a pretty interesting beast. People have done the math on it before. There is a lot of gold value to be garnered from those souls, and you don't get the soul drops as often when you're last hitting the minions. So taking her in this support role means that you're able to get more souls more often. It also means that you can focus more on harassing onto this Jin and onto this Maokai to try to get even more souls that way. It's not a direct one-to-one gold transfer because you need to hit those thresholds of 20 souls to really be getting the value, but once you do hit those thresholds, it ends up being a very significant power boost to Senna. And if she's able to farm souls effectively, she's going to come out of laning phase feeling like an 80 carry Senna, even though she hasn't been farming.
And that is the hope here for adjustment and the sub down in the bot lane. The fear, on the other hand, is going to be that the all-in potential for MCR here is actually pretty high. Maokai has that twisted advance, and if we see the aftershock come through, I don't expect it. Definitely expecting Comet and the full poke style Maokai with the saplings. But if we do end up with a twisted advance connecting onto Senna, then it's only a short health bar to be trying to chew through here. And if Jin's able to get 4 bullets with that final execute, Deadly Flourish as well to help root, could definitely find this bot lane here for Omega Gaming Unleashed struggle to coax their way through the early game.
All right, and we are going to start getting loaded up into our second best of two of the night. We're going to find out if Meme City Rush can advance up to 3-0, or if Omega Gaming Unleashed are going to tie the two of these teams up at 2-1 each. We're going to get loaded up here, so do not go anywhere. We will be right back. Now I'm unmuted. There we go. I am all set here, Rudude. Welcome everybody to Game 1 of Omega Gaming Unleashed versus Meme City Rush in the XLNC Mid League. My name is Gordo, and now that I have my mic unmuted, I am joined by Rudude. Rudude, how are you doing tonight now that you have a co-caster?
Hey, I'm doing beautifully. You're learning from the best right here. Rudude and Unmuting is a duo for as long as the ages on the Omega Esports channel. So I mean, you're just joining a long line of successful production members on the broadcast crew here, and definitely excited to get the second series of the XLNC Mid League underway right here. Obviously, Meme City Rush coming into tonight, you said 2-0. Definitely looking to extend on that, whereas Omega Gaming Unleashed went 1-1 in their first series, with one game looking very convincing and the second one that they ended up losing looking pretty rough, we would say, in terms of just getting stomped on in the early game and just not really able to come back from there. And they're at the risk of the exact same thing happening once again.
Yeah, they certainly are. So they're just going to be looking to get started down here in this bot lane. Really curious to see what this Senna support is able to accomplish down here in this bot lane, as we are going to see he's coming down in the lane along with the Seraphine here. Very curious to watch Seraphine especially. I've not gotten to see it in the bot lane yet, but I am aware of its dangerous wave clear capabilities.
Yeah, and I think that the main... Oh, well, Seraphine is just an incredibly strong champion in its own right, and that is the main reason, of course, that people are picking it. And Rutledge here with some nice Q of harass early on, definitely putting some Malcolm back in his place. But yeah, this bot side fight always going to look dangerous, especially with Seraphine's wave clear, as you mentioned, the ability to really just pump out spells to not only clear the wave, but to pump out damage as well. We'll be interested to see how the bot lane develops, because pushed up quite like this isn't what a Maokai wants. He wants to have bush control, but if the wave is constantly underneath the enemy's turret, those saplings aren't going to be quite having the same amount of work.
Yeah, it is certainly the case, and that is why Adjustment and the sub are going to be looking to try to get that wave in their favor here. As we can see Malcolm up in the top lane, finding some good trades with those early parlays, and the sub going aggressive in this bot lane to try to get some of those early souls.
Yeah, and getting away with it as well. The important thing of Senna, of course, is if you're able to find those consecutive auto attacks, or of course the Q auto, W auto, basically any two combinations of damage from Senna on a fairly short time span, you are able to find a stack of absolution, which are of course those souls that the Senna so rightfully tries to earn and definitely wants to be collecting. And you can see him trying to farm them pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah, you got to really find your moments on the support Senna there, because like right at level 1, you have good opportunities to try to get away with souls, but soon, once everybody's at level 3, once everybody has access to their full suite of abilities, that's when Senna's going to have a more difficult trading time until she gets the enhanced range from having picked up the souls. So it's really about finding your moments and knowing when you're powerful enough to go aggressive and take those trades.
Zoe's a fun champion, man. She just last hit it and got a free ignite and a free ghost to use it as well, but it looks like Princeton's actually really set up nicely in this lane. He cheated a recall early on, and he's heading CS flash forward.
Oh, there's a flash in from the Maokai, going to be setting up for Acid here, but not actually going to be landing anything. Acid goes for the Eep, but not actually going to be able to land it onto anybody, and just going to get forced out here by the sub. Going to end up giving away a soul, blowing a flash from the Senna, but otherwise not going to accomplish anything.
Yeah, and that's the Maokai's engage power completely reduced right now, and has got Hex Flash. I might look for it.
Oh, that's going to be a snare followed up with. They're going for the exact same gank a second time, but once again, not going to be able to land that swirl seed onto anybody. Just going to get poked on away here, but it's going to be another flash blow. Now, no flash on either member of Omega Gaming's bot lane.
Yeah, and the Hex Flash definitely paying its dividends right there. A nice little deadly flourish as well from Swoon Baboon, trying to make that fight happen. They do get, obviously, the double flash out, and now Adjustment and Sub going to have to be very careful as they continue to navigate this early laning phase.
Yeah, no, and once again, that Zoe just getting the spell thief procs and getting to abuse her lane opponent with that. I think a really undersold aspect of Zoe this season has been that the item changes and the entire item rework effectively buffed Zoe, as all of the the total pool of active items got reduced, increasing the likelihood of getting good summoner spells and good active items from spell thief, and the active items that do exist got better.
Yeah, and you know, that's such a brilliant point that you bring up, and really good to see Zoe's being used, and with those, of course, pickups and with those items getting dropped more frequently, then it does enable Zoe's laning phase to become a lot better. Up on this top side, Malcolm getting the rough end of a trade, but Grasp of the Undying able to trade it back quite nicely, and with Talia nearby, Rutledge does need to be careful.
Yeah, that Grasp plus Trial by Fire really allowing a lot of trade damage to come back in, and now it's up to Fallen Artemis to try to land this shove from the W, but actually just going to be trying to get those threaded volleys through and going to force away the flash from Rutledge.
Yeah, so not burning the flash to respond there, but that's a really good pickup here for Fallen Artemis and for Malcolm as well. Not having the flash on the Renekton does, of course, reduce not only his engage potential, but also the kill threat that the Renekton would have should the Lilia try and come up and set up for that play. Both top laners do TP back to their wave and continue on their merry way, trading against one another, farming up and finding as many advantages as they can.
And a quick little check-in on the Senna right now, by the way. She's already at 20 souls, so already has gotten the first edition of her range increase, just continuously able to get the double proc there onto the Maokai, steal away a little fragment of his soul, and every time just getting a little bit stronger for it.
Yeah, getting closer and closer to those range buffs. I believe you get AD for every stack, and it is, of course, those every 20 stacks that you do find that range increase. But Sub here, waiting, got more minions to be farming up, got more souls to be taking as well. Just waiting, biding his time, hasn't yet taken a recall, so going to be waiting for as long as possible before taking a recall, and wants to miss out on as very few minions as possible.
And you can see Seraphine sitting on only a Doran's Blade and Amp Tome for AP, and not even fully having maxed the Q, but can already almost fully clear away those minions with the double Q. That's the power of the Seraphine bot lane here, and that's what she's going to be looking to do over and over again, just to keep this wave shoved up and keep Maokai useless.
Okay, I like this from Omega Gaming Unleashed here. Recognizing that Jin Maokai are going to take a base, they're now going to take the opportunity to push in the wave, get themselves the dragon as well, especially with Acid up on the top side. If they've monitored where the Lilia will have started, they'll know that this is about the timing he'll be taking the red buff. The issue that they might run into here for Omega Gaming is that, oh, well, this exact thing.
Malcolm going to find himself hit by the Swirl Seed even post-flash. He's going to try to cleanse away there, but it's not going to be enough, and Acid is going to pick him up with the Lilia there, getting first blood onto his champion, and the cleanse just not going to be enough for the side of Smalkra. He ate oranges, but it was not okay.
No, he was not. They were, unfortunately, not healing enough right there. And just I was about to mention it, the exact issue with going for that bot side dragon play. You know that Acid is going to be up there if you've been tracking the starting path, and you do end up losing your top laner. You know, you could have lost the Rift Herald, or could have just played a little bit safer just to concede only the Herald, but unfortunately they give the kill up as well. Meanwhile, down though, still on the bot side, it looks like Sub is quite happy to keep this wave under control, and it appears that we're going to see one of these difference of two lanes right here, where we have Adjustment and Sub starting to try and dominate on the bot side. And yes, we can see that Swoomba Boom is actually fairly well off in the CS department, but it's just this center pick that we keep drawing back to because of how much it's just picking up souls and how much damage it's going to be able to pump out as soon as we get only maybe 5-10 minutes further into the game.
Yeah, actually very interesting to see the Bandle Glass Mirror coming through for the sub. Very used to seeing kind of some of that more armor pen itemization coming out, but it looks like he might be going for something like an Imperial Mandate.
Yeah, and I mean, with Glacial Augment as well, definitely going to be a nice synergy between the two. We'll have to see if they look for anything else, and Sub constantly firing those Piercing Darknesses out and constantly trying to pump out any damage, any souls that he can get down there. You can see the camera's always looking down here as well as Acid makes his play.
Here comes that Maokai ultimate coming on through, going to be trying to snare up Adjustment, but he's just going to get healed up by the sub. Here comes the Curtain Call, but just not going to be enough damage to actually even proc his own Dark Harvest. So all in all, not going to do too much to force away this Omega Gaming bot lane. They're just going to wait for the wave to crash in, they're going to clear it away, and they're going to be feeling pretty good for themselves.
Right, and this is exactly what Unleashed Spot Lane wants to do, really. They just want to heal up one another. Sub has got more than enough mana to constantly fire those heals into Adjustment. They've also got the Guardian down there as well on Adjustment. They've got so much just sustain outright. And you can see that the Maokai really hasn't had the same impact that we tend to expecting for a Maokai. But his presence and the power that he has extends far beyond the laning phase.
No, and Frosty got a redemption there, so he just gets to win every trade now. As is the business with Zoe and her spell thief there.
I do. Zoe, man, it's fun champ. That's all I have to say. Anyway, now pushed up a little bit too far forward. Acid finding another engage.
The snare on the sub going to keep them both up there a little bit too long. It's going to be a huge encore, though, landed onto 3 people, but that's not going to stop the Lilting Lullaby from coming through onto Seraphine. Just going to get chunked out there right away and going to get picked up by Acid. It's going to be a return Cannon Barrage coming through from Smalkram, as well as the Weaver's Wall coming through from Artemis to try to pick this up. Here comes another redemption coming through to try to keep them alive. That's a second redemption from Zoe? Really? Jesus.
She's high-rolling these summoner spells right now.
All right, yeah, she's just really high rolling here and actually going to pick up a kill onto Fallen Artemis. A great sleep followed up with a max range Paddle Star, going to very easily pick up a kill there for the side of Frost.
We're really starting to see the power here of this poke composition. Already, in the game, like so early on, we can see just all of the advantages that Meme City Rush are going to be able to pick up from just their composition alone here. Princeton not able to find the roam. You can see he's quite high up on CS, but gets hit by the bubble.
And the stolen
Forced.
flash from Frosty going to come through, but it's going to be cleansed away by Princeton, going to prevent them from going any farther there. Maybe a little bit of a wasted ultimate from the Maokai, that Nature's Grasp coming through, but with Princeton having cleansed away the sleep, just going to walk on out of there.
Yeah, I mean, forcing the cleanse out, definitely going to be useful, but Frosty not having to expend his own flash obviously means that it's always going to be good news for him, and taking down that summoner spell as well as the flash from Princeton, really setting him up for success there. Not quite sure that we needed to use both the summoner spells in the mid lane on Princeton. If you're going to cleanse away from the bubble, then you may as well have not flashed it and just tanked it in the first place. That being said, it's pretty difficult to navigate those situations when you're in the moment.
Acid once again looking for some action in this top lane. He has access to the Rift Herald, so he wants to force some Malcolm out of here and get forced turret for his team. But for that, they're going to need to get past this gangplank. They're actually just going to drop it down anyway, just try to get what they can out of it and start moving on down towards this mid lane, maybe looking for the dragon.
Yeah, gonna put some more gold into Rutledge's pocket as well right here. The next Herald gonna be spawning up fairly soon as well. It's been a while since Acid actually picked that one up. And you can see Smalcrum now able to farm up that wave. Going to be going for the Divine Sunderer once again. Doesn't quite have that fully completed mythic item yet, as opposed to Acid, who's 2-0, fairly well farmed in the jungle and has got access to that Liandry's as well. I want to point out as well that the CS leads across both the solo lanes starting to really amass for Omega Gaming Unleashed, both Smalcrum and Princeton, putting about a 20 CS lead between themselves and their respective lane opponents. So not all doom and gloom for Omega Gaming Unleashed, as we've seen a fair few attempts on that bot lane be successful.
Yeah. And worth pointing out, those early kills onto Acid have enabled him to go for this Liandry's build instead of the more classic Moonstone Renewer build. Possible that he just doesn't like it and always wants to go for Liandry's, but part of the advantage of the Moonstone Renewer build is that it is significantly cheaper, but that boost of gold that comes from being 2-0 means that you don't have to sacrifice damage for a cheaper build path.
No, exactly. It's one of those things where, you know, if people are snowballing, for example, you do tend to see them go for a more AP-oriented or more damage-oriented glass cannon style build, and it's definitely what Acid has adopted here as his philosophy for that Liandry's first pickup. And now finally, Fallen Artemis has picked up one in response, so now the jungle is matched in their AP items, and Acid finally going to pick up the red buff right there. A little bit behind in the clear, but still ahead, or even rather, on those jungle camps.
Yeah, let's do a quick little soul check-in on Senna there. He is sitting on 49 souls at 14 minutes, so picking him up at a pretty good rate. Has already gotten two range boosts and is halfway to a third one.
Yeah, Frosty gonna hop on in here. Has got Talia behind though.
Yeah, just dumping summoner spells right into Princeton there, but he does not appear to care as he's just walking forward and landing all of his abilities, not quite able to be slept there, and so going to find himself with a favorable trade on a Frosty.
Yeah, 650 range then on the sub right now. Is Caitlyn range unlocked for the Senna, so Maokai trying to find these twisted advances is going to become a lot more difficult, especially with Glacial Augment. If you're looking for the Q to really start off that fight for the sub, it does become increasingly more challenging to find the distance and close it with that slow on the back of you there.
That was 3 souls in one wave, by the way, Rudy. These Senna buffs are really making themselves known here. I remember I played this a couple patches ago, and even getting 1 soul a wave felt like a miracle.
I think the math works out that you're supposed to get 2 per wave, and if you get 3, then you're living. I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure that it's just 2 per wave.
Yeah, no, just high rolled in the whole game here. The sub has got to keep up with Frosty somehow on these RNG mechanics.
That is very true indeed, and I think it's every cannon minion as well that gives you 1. And fight up on the top side continuing. Gore Drinker versus Divine Sunderer. So let's wait and see how this top lane matchup does continue to unfold. But for the most part, it's been fairly unimpactful, and we were waiting to see if Meme City Rush were able to really put some damage in early. But so far, only 700 gold down. Omega Gaming Unleashed, not too far behind as much as we'd have expected.
Oh, and this is going to be a dive attempt coming in through from Angel here on this Maokai. Going to be getting the first root down onto Samalkram, followed up with a stun, followed up with another root, and that's going to be a pickup for Rutledge. Excellently played there. Good juggling of CC duration by the side of Meme City Rush, going to enable them to pick up that kill.
Yeah, and ulting for wave clear here. Swoon Baboon going to force that wave under the turret very quickly. Actually picks Acid up with that.
Acid going to be snared up here. Maybe going to be an opportunity here. Sub forced to flash away, though. Does not want to get picked up by Deadly Flourish.
We can see double Moonstone Renewer in the bot lane right here. Both Adjustment and Sub picking that one up. So they're going to be not only healing one another, but also healing their team twice as much as you would have expected right here from just the singular item. So Talia getting ample opportunity along with Victor with that Liandry's to apply damage, receiving the healing from the Moonstone as well. Going to just be, overall, so much value from these mythic items combined with one another.
Chat's telling us the Senna buffs aren't even live yet, so the sub is just high rolling on the old numbers. He's paying off someone at Riot. I don't know. He's living it.
We'll come back next week and we'll see if they're playing this comp again, and we'll see if they end up playing
Sub's
this bot
just gonna
lane.
get a soul on every single minion. I don't know how it can get better than this.
Hey, well, I mean, the increased numbers definitely going to increase Senna's priority at least a little bit, and especially if they're happy with this Seraphine pairing bot lane, we can expect to see that one coming through pretty consistently for this bot lane. Still waiting to see if the successes are able to be translated into wins, and as we say, this early game been fairly slow. We're transitioning toward that mid-game stage right here. We have Cloud Dragon spawning in about 30 seconds. Mid lane, still just this slight CS lead for Princeton. Top lane, the same story. But overall, not really too much to separate the teams. At 18 minutes, 1,500 gold lead isn't the biggest thing to overcome. And you can definitely imagine Unleashed taking that fight pretty fairly in a 5 versus 5. It's going to all be set up on whether or not Meme City are able to really set down their poke and play to their win condition. Setting up around an objective is what they want to be doing first. And in response, it looks like Fallen Artemis is going to put the Herald in the mid lane. We might actually see some action for the first time in a long time.
Angel gonna throw down those roots to try to pick up somebody here, but the sub just trying to stay alive for as long as he can. Gets the big soul, but he's actually going to go down, but that's going to be a large encore coming across 3 members of the opposing team, trying to pick them up here, and now here comes Curtain Call to try to keep them slowed down and keep Rutledge on top of them. They're going to move back, though, and it's just going to end up being a 1-for-1 at the end of the day. Zoe looking to try to pick somebody up here, but going to be dodged away from.
Yeah, it's a 1-for-1, but in Mega Gaming Unleashed get themselves what looks like should be 2 turrets, with Samalkram working away on that top lane tier 1 as well. Obviously, the Dragon goes toward Meme City Rush right there, and they're going to pick themselves up a little bit of ability haste on their ultimates, which, for Jhin, for Lilia, and for the Maokai as well, all going to be fairly impactful. Not so much for the Zoe, but always getting that extra mobility will help out, and actually, Rutledge could be caught here between 2 people.
Yeah, Fallen Artemis has found an engage here onto Rutledge. Has to be careful not to just get dived on by this Crocodile, though, as Acid is coming up to try to make the difference, and Frosty just going to burst through Fallen Artemis in one shot, as now Samalkram finds himself stuck in a 1v2, and Princeton finds himself chased away by Acid. That's going to be a double kill picked up for Frosty. Easy to do when your opponent's already fallen asleep, as Samalkram is just trying to escape now. He knows there's far too many members of Meme City for him to stay.
Yeah, gonna walk out there, having lost both mid and jungler. Unfortunately, Meme City Rush right there clapping back, and we saw that the gold lead for a moment had leveled up. We've now reopened that gap, and once again, right back at that state where Meme City Rush are in a fairly decent position with their leads and setting up around the turrets. Do net themselves this mid lane tier 1 right there. Despite Samalkram's best efforts, it does fall under the might of the Lilia and the Zoe.
Yeah, and that's going to be a pretty significant advantage picked up by Meme City Rush after that great fight win for them, going to balloon their lead to something a little bit substantial for the first time this game, with over 1K going towards their side. And they're going to just try to spend that lead and see if they can continue snowballing away. If getting the advantage is so important on these sorts of poke team comps, because when you can get your vision lines set up, you can find the picks that you want with these Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, with these Swirl Seeds into Lilting Lullabies, and with these Deadly Flourishes.
Yeah, exactly. It's the nature of the Meme City Rush composition right here, and we'll have to see if it is able to yield the profitable fruits that they are hoping for. I want to point out the Seraphine build path as we're continuing to see it develop and evolve here. We have got the Staff of Flowing Water, I believe is the item's name, and going to be buffing up all the spellcasters. So we've talked about the lack of AD that is on the Omega Gaming Unleashed squad, but you know, this particular item gives you ability power if you're able to proc it effectively, and both Victor, Talia, and of course, well, I'll say to an extent, Sir Malcolm with that orange ability, going to be quite happy to receive those increased AP gains. And we'll have to see, of course, whether or not we do continue to see this more supportive route, or whether we do get a few more high AP ticket items coming through from the Seraphine.
Yeah, as you said, a lot of champions who are going to be appreciating that Moonstaff build coming through for adjustment. Lots of use for AP, both on to Fallen Artemis and onto Princeton, as well as onto Adjustment himself, all scaling very well with AP this game, and going to just try to be able to work their way through the opposing team. That way, Acid might find himself a little bit caught out here. He's going to have to flash away to avoid getting shoved back in by a Fallen Artemis.
Yeah, and Ben in the Flash of the Lily are definitely going to help, reducing her engage potential. You know, so many times that Lilias have flash queued into 4 or 5 members, got themselves a beautiful sleep, and really just won a team fight from there. Not going to happen for the next 5 minutes here, and Frosty also forced to burn their own flash, and yes, it's only on the Zoe, so it's not the worst situation, as we can steal some of those back here for the TSM Frosty, or TSM mid laner. There we go, getting baited by the summoner names as well. But either way, stealing away those spells, always going to be a possibility. And Zoe, probably one of the best mid laners to be without flash as we get more and more into the skirmish-oriented area of the game.
Yeah, for sure, but is going to have to find one to steal to have it back, as they have burned their real flash there. But now, just going to be resetting, not going to be too down on themselves about it, as they are still sitting 3-0 here on this Zoe. Wow, big landing on to the sub there, but is set up to sustain himself pretty well here. Going to just pick up some souls, going to use as many Qs as he can, and now is going to have adjustment with the Moonstone Renewer coming on through to heal him up even more.
He's at 77 stacks right now, so just 3 more, and he'll be 700 range. We'll be looking to really just pump out the damage from all sorts of ranges right now, and the Q extends every time you reach that range threshold as well, so going to be finding more and more poke, more and more actual soft engages as well with the Q. You have to imagine that the Glacial Augment can definitely cause some difficulties for players if they get too close for comfort.
Yeah, and it's really quite the great counter to this poke composition. You can see Frosty keeps coming through, keeps landing great paddle stars, but there's 2 dedicated healers on the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed, and they just keep healing themselves back on up.
Yeah, and I want to highlight here Angel's position in behind the Unleashed roster. It doesn't look like they've got too many wards on that, as this Cloud Dragon has spawned. Looks like Omega Gaming Unleashed are taking the initiative and not looking to ward that Cloud Dragon. Going to concede this one for now, and down 3,000 gold here after a good little few steps of macro play from Meme City Rush. Quite recognizing that taking the fight, probably not the best idea.
Yeah, certainly not, and we can see the double mask build for coronavirus awareness coming out from Acid this game, as he is just going to have that double burn ability to be stacking on top of the one already in his kit. Going to be so much damage over time coming through from the side of Acid whenever he lands any abilities.
Yeah, it's like a mini Darius passive with all of the abilities that he's built up together. You know, you take 1 Q from Lilia, about 300 HP, and walk away, but Acid actually very close to adjustment and the sub right there, and you know, fortunately, with the nature of these 2 sort of lower damage runes and lower damage items, the Lily are able to walk away right there with that nice enhanced movement speed from the passive as well, getting themselves to safety. Looks like we do see what looks like the makings of maybe a redemption for adjustment on the Seraphine, so continuing down this path of supporting the topside trio to really be the ones to pump out the DPS.
We certainly are here, and now we can see just going to be a little bit of grouping around the mid lane here. Like we talked about, Meme City Rush wants to extend their vision line here, but they're really not going to be able to just poke on its own and hope to force the other team away. They're going to have to find a way to finish somebody off, and the most likely way to do that is going to be through one of the bot laners. They need to either land the Nature's Grasp, or they need to land a Deadly Flourish, and they need to move in with Rutledge and finish somebody off. Otherwise, they're just going to keep sustaining back up.
Yeah, so far all we've seen is just a good paddle star coming through, but the second that Meme City Rush actually combine all of their efforts, they have more than enough damage to burst through this Seraphine long before she's able to fire off the Qs and get the sustain. Yes, we have to remember that we're going to see things like Barrier, we're going to see things like the Dawning Shadow come over the top as well, but to add to that, it might be, again, still too little too late, and if you're too slow on the fingers, not quite fast enough to pick everything up, there's always a world where we do see the Senna, or for that fact, adjustment, falling down.
Yeah, and we're going to be entering another little pause here. Looks like that's going to be the theme of the night, as each of our games has contained one thus far. So just going to be able to take a little bit of a break here, step back, surveil your surroundings. And let's take a look towards Grievous Wounds, as that's going to be something that is really important for this game because of all the healing available on the side of Omega Gaming. We can see the Executioner's Calling has been picked up for Rutledge, but he's not the kind of champion that's really going to be able to proc it onto a bunch of people while you're trying to poke him out. There is one for the side of Acid. He has picked up that Oblivion Orb, but I'd like to see one over on the side of Frosty as well, and maybe even another Executioner's Calling picked up for Swoon Baboon. It's not overkill at this point because there's just so much healing. 3 different champions who are able to heal if you include the Gangplank's oranges in there, and definitely going to be worth it if you can prevent some of that from coming through.
Yeah, and what I'd like to see then to that extent is somebody else picking up the more enhanced version of the Grievous Wounds in that case, right? You know, at the minute, only providing 40% effectiveness on that Grievous Wounds. If you finish the item, you do end up increasing that to 60%. Always going to be worthwhile when you, as you mentioned, up against a team comp that is so reliant on healing in terms of what they want to do. So if they're able to put out the fires of healing, really ignite their enemies, then they can definitely look to make some more successes happen. And especially if the champions that are poking also apply the Grievous Wounds, it means that the healing, of course, is going to become much more difficult to come by.
Yeah, and Frosty is going for a slightly different strategy than trying to whittle them around with poke. Frosty's build is based around just absolutely one-shotting people here, as he's picked up that Horizon Focus to go along with his Luden's Echo. If he's able to hit people from far away, that is going to be so much bonus damage coming on through towards these squishy targets, and he's going to hope to just kill them straight up.
Exactly, and as we finally see some R's coming through, I'm going to take 2640 as our stopping point.
Yep, and I am there as well.
Beautiful. We'll resync up. Once again, guys, apologies. We do have to try and make sure that everything is okay and make sure that we give you guys the best broadcast. And with that, with a quick 3, 2, 1, and pause, we will be coming on out. And that's Swirl Seed connecting. Could have been the start of something great right there. I mean, no cleanse on the Senna, rather, really is the one target that they can be looking towards in that little skirmish situation, in that poke siege, where they can maybe find an advantage.
Yeah, Acid maybe not quite ready to pull the trigger on that engage so soon after the pause, but that is going to be the kind of engages that they're looking for. They're just going to keep throwing out those swirl seeds with their effectively infinite range as long as you don't hit a wall, and trying to see who they can pick up.
Yeah, one of my favourite mini games, of course, when Lilia first came out, was try and throw bowling balls down all of the lanes and see how far you could get it down without finding any turrets, any terrain, or anything like that. There were a couple of times where I was able to pick up a couple of caster creeps down bot lane from the base, but you know, other than that, you do have to try and find these niche little angles. And straight down mid lane, it's not too difficult when you're setting up and when you're trying to siege, but you know, a little bit later on, this could be just insta kill though.
Oh, that is a big landing onto the sub there. A couple of little healings coming through from the Seraphine, going to manage to keep him alive. And now Frosty going to be forced to flash away, as Princeton has a huge amount of damage with that Chaos Storm Death Ray combo.
Yeah, Frosty taking incredibly low right there. Has got domination and probably taste
Frosty
of blood.
Maybe bringing off more than he can chew there, though. He's going to get landed on by the Piercing Darkness from Senna, as well as the Cannon Barrage that going to be able to pick him up at the end of the day. He does end up going down, maybe just going a little bit too aggressive, trying too desperately to manage to get one of those kills.
Yeah, you can see that the Victor is just pumping out so much DPS as well right there that the cannon barrage over the top is able to finish off the job, and Sir Malcolm going to be the recipient of 600 very important golden pieces in his inventory right there. Has also got himself that Executioner's Calling, and also being able to pick up that anti-healing with the Sterex gauge as well. These two top laners looking to be those pseudo tanks. Neither of these compositions particularly having one, although the Maokai tending to that Locket and Locket as opposed to the full AP route is a little bit more tanky than we'd maybe expected.
Yeah, certainly is going to be there. Not going for the Imperial mandate this game. Just wants to focus on being a big, beefy front line along with Rutledge to be able to take these team fights in the way that they want to take them.
No, and the later that this game continues to go, you just have to continue to favour Omega Gaming Unleashed here. They've got this Senna just constantly scaling, and Frosty.
And a big pick there with the Chaos Storm, and once Frosty commits to the ultimate, you know it's all over, as she is going to have to blink back towards the original location, and there's going to be 4 members of Omega waiting for her once she gets there. And with that, Omega is now going to move on to the Dragon here. As long as Acid isn't able to steal this away, going to deny them the soul. That's a good pickup for Fallen Artemis, but it looks like they're going to try to fight this on the side of Meme City. Rutledge is going in there, and he's got an excellent team fight position on top of all of the carries. Everybody going to be flashing over the wall, but Rutledge is just going to follow them right over, picks up a double kill, now is going to make it a third that gets picked up by Swoon Baboon, and that is going to be 3 kills for the side of Meme City Rush. They do not get the Dragon, but they get a very favorable team fight off the back end. Very well played, given that they did not have their mid laner the entire time.
No, and they might even get the Baron here as well, Gordo. Losing the Zoe at the beginning of the fight means that the staggered death timers are going to be in Meme City Rush's favour right here. Senna and Victor going to be the ones that would have to look toward taking this Baron down, but it's not going to be too easy up against Maokai. Going to have all of those saplings set up in and around the brushes, and going to have to try and face check that. Never going to be an easy task. Yes, they've got good range, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. Baron surely to fall.
Yeah, just getting melted through here by Rutledge ever so fast, along with his teammates. Very easily able to pick up that Baron, and now going to have a pretty substantial gold lead picked up as a result. Big influx of gold from the Baron being taken down, as well as the fight they just won. And now we have to see, are they going to be able to set up the siege that they want here? This team is so good at harassing people under turrets. They just have to get the waves in the positions where they want them.
Yeah, this should be fairly trivial here for Meme City Rush if they're really looking to close out the game here. The Baron buff is the perfect accessory that they needed to really make it work right there. And something important from the final team fight as well that we've just witnessed is both Adjustment and the Sub never used their ultis. These big team fighting ultimates never actually got used, and half of the power that comes from the Senna, all of those big shields that you can really put down, never really came to fruition right there. Fortunately enough, Meme City Rush are taking their time with their recalls, and so far you can see they've spent a minute of their Baron buff just recalling and buying all of their items and not quite being able to push out onto the map. That being said, they've still got 2 minutes of the buff and all of the effectiveness that it provides for them to try and get out on the map and really start looking to batter down this inhibitor set of turrets, and even the inner turrets to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And now just going to be setting up in these lanes here. Want to try to push in all 3. So going to be kind of a 1-2-2 setup at the moment. Maybe a 1-1-3, as Adriel is now lurking around in the bottom lane, looking to potentially use that Nature's Grasp to move in on to some targets in the bot lane turret.
Yeah, and Smalcolm gonna try and fight back there with Rutledge fairly easily. Obviously a level lead for the Renekton, going to help him out quite happily, but Smalcolm still got a little bit of sustain here with those oranges. Rutledge as well with the Gore Drinker going to be able to pump up the damage as and when he pleases as well. But the siege coming on through, we mentioned this top lane, probably not going to be the one to think about here in terms of the great poke and the great siege that they have. But on the other side, it is going to be the sub that actually gets opened up on.
Yeah, there's going to be the curtain call coming through there. A lot of damage coming through, and Acid is going to pop the Lilting Lullaby as well to try to pick him up, but it's just not going to be enough. There's too much shielding, there's too much healing available, and the sub is going to manage to stay alive. Does not even have to use the Dawning Shadow.
No, they're able to just about keep it alive. Does burn the flash, though, from the Senna, so making the positioning all that more important. But I believe by now, has reached 120 stacks, so 750 base range coming out of the Senna, as well as just all of the Q range that she's got. But you can see the poke that Meme City are putting down, definitely pushing hard.
Ooh, Acid kind of messing with his teammate there, ends up getting him snared up by the Senna W, and that's going to mean both of their deaths as Swoon Baboon just gets followed up on by Princeton, and along with the Weaver's Wall coming through from Fallen Artemis means that neither of them have any chance of escaping.
No, really good stuff from Unleashed right there, finding the engage, finding the opportunity to put down the enemies there as they push just a little too far forward. Frosty going to be able to pick himself up a blue buff, but with that kills and those deaths really one of the worst times when we're looking at the Dragon. 40 seconds on the Drake respawning, and Swoon Baboon and Acid will be alive for the spawn, but you have to imagine that Unleashed, with no inhibitors down, should be able to fairly freely roam out and pick up some at least priority around the Drake.
And Frosty, by the way, has got to be mad, bro, at this point, because that is going to be a Mikhail's Blessing has been picked up by this Seraphine. Even more difficult now to be able to land those bubbles and put targets to sleep, as they're going to be able to cleanse it away from multiple sources beyond the Summoner cleanses now.
Yes, Malcolm TPing down as well. Unleashed wanting to take this fight. They just have to be careful once again here. Don't want to lose out in the same way that they did previously here. Likely to be able to get the Dragon. As you can see, Lilia still walking through the jungle, but after that, the disengage needs to be good.
Yeah, they need to be careful not to let Rutledge into the middle of all of them again this time, but looks like they might be a little bit late here. The Nature's Grasp comes on through, and now Rutledge goes for the engage. Here comes a sleep attempt from the side of Acid, and the front line is going to just get melted through right away, so Malcolm is going to be able to trade back onto Andril here, and now they have the team fight lines that they want. The sub pushing on forward with his enhanced range, but he is going to get melted down by a huge paddle star, followed up by Swoon Baboon's own fourth shot. That's going to be a kill picked up for the side of Meme City, and now Rutledge coming around the backside, trying to keep this fight going so that they can get even more off of that Lost Dragon. Adjustment going to have to flash away, but now he's caught with this Crocodile, and he's going to get taken down as well. That is 4 kills so far in this fight for the side of Meme City, and now they're going to try to see if they can break open the base.
They might be able to do more than that here, Gordo, with so long on the death timers. Could well be the end of the game right here. It's going to be close, and I think that probably inhibitors are going to be more likely. Princeton having to make his worth right now, trying to defend probably just the Nexus turrets. Can afford to concede the inhibitors here. Really good stuff once again from Meme City Rush right there to find the engage and find that fight after what looks like Omega Gaming Unleashed might have been able to just hold the fort there on that fight and maybe disengage nicely. We're at a 7 Drake game right here. The 7th, of course, not going to spawn for another 3.5 minutes. But Omega Gaming Unleashed only losing one of their bot lane inhibitors doesn't put them in the worst position in the world. But that being said, with bot lane inhibitor being down and Baron spawning in 25 seconds, they're definitely not in the best position to be in.
Yeah, the sub just going a little bit too far up in that last fight. You can have all the souls in the world and all the range and damage you want, but it's not going to make you tankier. So if you're actually going to get engaged on because you just push up too far away from your team, you're going to get taken down, and it's going to be a lost fight for the side of Omega. But now everybody's back alive, and once again, they're going to be looking to set up these fight lines in the perfect way. They were so close in that last fight to getting the team fight they wanted, just a small misplay preventing it at the end. But now a curtain call is once again opened up on the side of Omega, as they are looking for Rutinium here, or Rutledge rather, as they are going to get him stared on up, and now Angel finds himself caught up. He goes for the engage on the Fallen Artemis, but it's just not going to be enough, as now Rutledge has found himself in a 1v4. The rest of his team is not able to back him up, though, and Angel has already been taken down. He's trying to carry the fight, but he gets shut down, but now it's a huge sleep. The sleep goes on to multiple targets, and Acid is just going to run on through and pick all of them up. A triple kill for his side, double kill actually, as one was picked up by Frosty, as now Princeton is the only member of Omega Gaming Unleashed left alive. He is going to have to run away here, try not to get picked up by Acid to even have a hope of clearing away these minions and preventing his team from losing the game.
Yeah, the minions are just going to do the hard work here. Acid and Frosty just have to chase him down, and greeding a recall here. Maybe Frosty doesn't check this. He might be able to get away with it here. That portal jump might have revealed him, but actually going to be able to get away here. That greedy recall actually paying off right there. Might be able to defend the turrets right there, but Acid, MVP of the fight right there, gets a massive engage. Q onto 3, ulti onto 3 as well, setting up Frosty for a beautiful fight. We're going to have the same thing once again in just a couple of minutes here, Gordo, because everybody from Unleashed is going to be back alive. Everybody from Meme City Rush is going to be back alive, and the Baron is still on the table.
Yeah, that is going to be a huge lullaby coming through from Acid to enable his team to turn around that fight. I thought it was all over once both frontliners had fallen down, but Acid proves that you don't need a frontline if you can sleep the entire enemy team and get a perfect bow across all of them in order to finish off the kills.
Here comes the cannon barrage, though, looking to engage once again.
Yeah, once again going to be asleep here. And oh, it's a huge paddle star into 2 targets. It's going to be returned to Gross by the Dawning Shadow, as now they're just going to retreat as quickly as possible. They have that Moon Staff to keep them all at max movement speed and all shielded up, and they are now just going to retreat back into their base. They were not able to prevent the Baron, but they can keep themselves in the game.
Yeah, and up against the Baron, it's not going to be easy, but you can see the minion wave still fairly far away here for Meme City Rush. Jin going to be the one coaxing in the minions from all the way back in the neutral lane state up in the middle, so going to be going to be at least a decent amount of time before Unleashed have to fully defend their base and fully commit to a fight, but you can see with super minions pouring in every other lane, they're going to have to try and take a fight at this top inhibitor, otherwise the barrage of minions will just be far too much.
It certainly will be, and they are now just going to be trying to clear away all of these minions they can. They still scale, but they're just being hammered on by all sides at this point, and once they're stuck and corralled in their own base like this, it makes the poke comp of the side of Meme City Rush even more potent.
Yeah, and I'm interested now to see where the subs build does go. It looks like we're heading toward an Infinity Edge, which it feels like he's just long overdue because of all of these support items. His damage, whilst it's coming from the souls, just isn't quite there, and at this stage has got the 60% bonus crit chance and will have the full effect of the Infinity Edge passive, so I'm going to be looking to see how that one plays out. But now the open up of the poke.
Oh, that's going to be a sleep into a Swirl Seed onto Fallen Artemis, just chunking him by such a significant amount, but he does have healing from his team to try to keep him alive as the Nexus turrets are just getting slammed down by these Baron minions. This is going to be the third inhibitor falling down, and they all just have to corral themselves into this one last remaining Nexus turret to try to defend it from these 5 members of Meme City Rush who are just raining down skill shots. Oh, Fallen Artemis just one shot by Frosty there. Excellently played there, and that might be it. This is going to give them the opening that they want here, as they are just going to try to force this engage now. Acid can try to sleep as many targets as he wants, as the turret is going to fall down, and the root's going to come on across to snare down more targets. Here comes a 3-man sleep, and that's going to likely be it. One gets cleansed away by Princeton, but it doesn't matter if the bot lane just gets melted through, and the Nexus gets taken down.
And it happens just in an instant right there. This composition from Omega Gaming Unleashed not quite being the comp that can engage, and unfortunately, it does mean that it is going to be Meme City Rush that take themselves the first game right there. Beautiful stuff from them, playing out their poke composition pretty much to a T, to be honest. Nothing really to say about it, just constantly finding the angles, finding the engages after the Drake's being taken, and setting up sieges underneath turrets really aided them in their end.
Yeah, and just excellent prioritization of how to play their team comp from Meme City Rush. They were able to just keep their frontliners getting the engages that they wanted at the perfect times, and then just have their Lilia and their Zoe keep raining on skill shots from the side to just keep that damage coming on through. You can see there at the top of the damage charts for a reason. The Jin ends up falling by the wayside compared to his teammates, because at the end of the day, he's really only there to bring in CC and to bring up backup damage if it's necessary. The stars of the show are going to be the Lilia and the Zoe.
Yeah, exactly, and that's pretty much everything that they're trying to accomplish right there. And with that all being said and done, we do have a second game for you guys coming up pretty soon, so we're going to take ourselves a quick break, hopefully get loaded up into the next game pretty quickly here, so don't hesitate to stick around, guys. We've got another action-packed game for you guys just around the corner.